All right, folks, we're back. We've got a pork rib, the loinback rib. It's right next to the backbone on the very top part of the pig. So what we've got is we've got the rib. We're gonna flip this over. If you flip it over, you see it has a really nice membrane in there. If we leave the membrane on, smoke and flavor will not penetrate that membrane. Plus, when it cooks, it's gonna be tough and leathery. So we need to take that off. We're gonna take this rib, we're gonna take an oyster knife. I have an extra long oyster knife, dull the sides a little bit because it doesn't have to be razor sharp. We're gonna take this, we're gonna go down to the middle of the rib and we're gonna start right here. We're gonna go right under. I'm gonna turn this. Can you see it good with the camera? We're gonna go right under. We're gonna go under, all the way through till we come out the other side. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my finger and my thumb. See how I got it? Just like so. We're gonna put it down, put the other hand underneath, push down on the rib, pull up on the membrane. All in one easy section. This is really tough, it's tight. You'll never get any flavor penetration, you'll never get any smoke penetrating. So we're gonna be in that situation. Now we have our rib opened up to accept flavors. So now what we're gonna do is Rachel's gonna put mustard on here for us.
So now I have to ask you, Jim, I've seen a lot of ribs being made on TV. Why is it that we're not just using the dry rub and we're putting this mustard on here?
Very, very good question. A lot of people see it on TV, they'll do it that way, and then they do it and you'll ask them, say, now why did you use the mustard? Because you'll see them use yellow mustard. I like Dijon mustard because it has a stronger flavor and I like that flavor. Let's talk just a little bit about why we're doing that. The dry rub is made with herbs. So we have all these herbs ground up into the Becky Sue rub. So the fact that it's ground up, oil and water do not mix. Herbs are oil-based. The mammal, the pig itself, is water-based. So what happens is oil and water don't mix. So if I were just to sprinkle the dry rub on top of the meat, it would stay on top of the meat, it wouldn't penetrate. So what happens is, for example, if I take 2 shot glasses, I put oil in one, and I put water in the other, and I take a teaspoon of the Becky Sue rub, put on top of each one of them. 30 minutes later when I come back, the Becky Sue rub will be floating on top of the water. It will not penetrate and go down, it'll just float. And the oil, it'll break down the oil that's in the herbs, and it will penetrate all the way through, so that oil will be the color of the Becky Sue rub. Same thing with this. Now why do we can use oil on this, but why do we use mustard? Mustard has 3 ingredients. It has vinegar, which is a natural meat tenderizer. It has oil, which is gonna break down the oil extracts in our dry rub, and it has spices. So the spices is just another layer of flavor that you didn't have to pay for. You're not gonna get that with just regular oil. So that is the reason we use mustard on this. Now that I've got mustard spread on, she's gonna come back and we're going to coat this very liberally. So we gotta make a nice coat. She's gonna go back a second round like this. So we're adding a layer of flavor. We're not trying to overpower that rib, we're trying to enhance the flavor of that rib. I'm gonna flip this over. She's gonna put another bead right down the center, just one single bead real quick. She's gonna go right down the top.
Now let me ask you this. Is there a reason that we started with the back side rather than the front side?
I do, and the reason I do that is because now, perfect. Now when I rub this in, and you notice this is a 2-person job. So what we're doing is she's got her hands clean, she's handling the container, the mustard. I'm handling the ribs, but I have the gloves on. But if I were to have to pick the bottle up, we're gonna have a mess in the kitchen. So we don't wanna do that. So she's gonna come back now, she's gonna put a really nice coating, even if she has to go back twice, perfect. This is gonna be really perfect. She's gonna cover every inch, and the mustard acts as a binder. So the mustard is actually going to make the dry rub adhere to the meat so that it doesn't shake off, it stays with us. It's gonna have a really nice color to it. There's enough salt in a dry rub, salt will pull the moisture out of meat. So if we let this set for about 10 minutes, you will see the meat start to sweat. That means it's pulling the moisture to the surface. That's a good sign because if it pulls the moisture to the surface, the pores are open. That means when I put it on the smoker, it's gonna absorb the flavor. So let's talk just a little bit about how we're gonna do this with the smoker. Meat absorbs flavor when it's cold. So the colder the meat, the more it's gonna absorb even the flavor of the dry rub and the mustard. Once We put this on the smoker, it's gonna absorb smoke. So it's gonna absorb the smoke when it's cold. Once the internal temperature of this rib reaches 140 degrees Fahrenheit, the juices start to come out, it starts to render, no more flavors going in. So you've locked all your flavor in until it's reached 140 degrees. So let's make sure we're clear on that. A lot of people wait and they add smoke throughout the entire cook. Not necessary. Add the smoke at the very beginning if that's when you want to add the smoke to your meat. So a little tip for the day. We're not trying to make you an overnight sensation and an overnight pitmaster, but what we are going to do is make you better than your neighbor before the end of this segment. Today we're standing in front of our old hickory. Our old hickory is our stainless steel pit. It uses charcoal, it uses gas, it uses a wood, it uses any mixture of those three that you would like to cook with. It's very consistent. I like it because I can set it, have the gas as a backup. I can go cut my grass, wash my car, take a nap, do anything I want. So I love this smoker a lot. Today we have the wood and the charcoal running the pit. If you'll notice, we're going to be cooking just under 250 degrees. So I put the ribs on. We prepped our ribs as you saw earlier. They've been in about 2.5 hours now. It's going to take about 3.5 hours for this rib to be done. We have loinback ribs on this smoker. So as you can see, it's cooking really nice. You can see we got a little bit of pullback on the bone, but we still have some fat we want to render out. As the fat renders out, we'll get the pullback on the bone and you'll be able to see the exposed bone just a little more. And what we're looking for is we're looking for that really beautiful red color, and then we're going to be checking for tenderness, and that's a tip that's going to come up later. Rachel, what we've done is we've taken this off the grill, the moment of truth. How do we know if our rib is done? If you notice it's reached 202 degrees, I know it's perfect. How do I know that? You don't. Because no matter what, two pieces of meat never cook the same. So I might be able to cook a rib to 200 degrees and still not be tender. How are we going to tell for sure? What if you don't have the fancy dancy thermometer? We'll just take that and put it away. So here's how you're going to tell. Everybody has a set of tongs. So we're going to flip this rib over. See how we got the bone side up? I'm going to bring this up so she can get a good shot of it on the camera. We're going to take our tongs and we're going to come in 3 bones. 1, 2, 3 bones.
Okay.
So we're going to come in 3 bones. And the way we're going to tell if this rib is done is we're going to try to pick this rib up from the end only. So no slab here. So we're going to take our hand behind our back and we're going to try to pick it up. And as I pick it up, you see how the meat's tearing? Mm-hmm. See the meat's tearing off the back of the bone? So it's pulling clean and tearing off the bone. What that's telling me is if I were to pick this rib up, it's going to break before I can get it up. So that means it's tender. That means the meat's going to fall off the bone.
Okay.
If I can pick it up and flop it like this,
yes,
it's not done. Have another beer, tell you people to eat some appetizers, and we'll get to them later. So what we're going to do now, though, is we know this is done. We're going to come back, we're going to add a little bit of our barbecue sauce. Now, our barbecue sauce is going to be a little special mix, and someday we're going to put that recipe on the site. I'm not sure when, because if we do that, you guys will all be competing. What we're trying to do is make you better than your neighbor. So pick a sauce you like. You can modify it. Now, as a competition cook, I'm trying to appease the judge's palate. So how do I do that? I want to enhance the flavor. We did it with the mustard. We did it with the dry rub. Now we're going to do it with the smoke and the cooking time. Now we're going to come right back and we're going to do it with the flavor profile of our sauce. If you don't look at that, that shines like a copper penny. So what happens is we've got a nice shine to it, nice flavor. To work on the judges, what I want to do is I want to hit the palate. And to do that, the tip of our tongue tastes sweet and savory. So I've got sweetness in there. I'm going to have some apple pectin in my sauce so that we have that. Across the top of our tongue, we're going to have a little bit of vinegar. So we'll have the vinegar go across the top of our tongue. Once we swallow, in the back of our throat, about 3 to 4 seconds after we swallow, we're going to have just a little bit of heat. Not much, just a little bit of heat. So what we've done now is we've glazed it. We're going to let it set because meat continues to cook even when you take it off the grill. So it's going to set up a nice glaze. It's going to become sticky. In just a second, we're going to cut this and we're going to show you what a good rib's going to look like.